Okay, this is problem number 1 that we did for our foldable. We have the function y equals negative 16x squared plus 100 represents the height y in feet of a pencil x seconds after falling out of the window of a school building. Find and interpret the x and y intercepts. So before we jump into the question, we want to understand what the equation is telling us, and we want to label what our variables are. So the first thing is that y, it tells us, is the height of the pencil as it falls, and x is the time in seconds that it's falling. So once it falls 1 second, it falls 2 seconds, that we can figure out where the height of it is. So we want to look at where this pencil started. Well, it has an initial height of 100. So we know if we're looking at a graph, we've got time and we've got height for our x and our y. This starts at a height of 100. So 0, 100 is our y-intercept, and that's where it starts. There is no initial velocity because there's no middle term there. There's no something x. So it doesn't go up, it just falls down. And eventually it hits the ground after so many seconds. Well, they want us to find and interpret the x and the y-intercepts. Well, here we already have the y-intercept. And we just said, what does that 100 represent? It represents the initial height that the pencil was dropped from. The x-intercept is going to be here where it hits the ground. We know that the x-intercept is some value of x, comma, 0 for the y. What we want to know is, what is that number? So we're going to take our equation, y equals negative 16x squared plus 100, and we're going to fill in the only thing we know about this point, and that's that y is 0. When we're trying to solve a quadratic, we get it equal to 0, and then our next step is to factor it. So I'm going to look and see, do negative 16x squared and 100 have anything in common? They have a 4 in common, and since my leading coefficient was negative, I'm going to take out a negative 4, which leaves me with 4x squared minus 25. Oops. Now when I look to factor this inside piece, I notice that I have a difference of perfect squares. 4x squared is a perfect square. Its square root is 2x. 25 is a perfect square. Its square root is 5. So this is going to factor into 2x plus 5 and 2x minus 5. And this equals 0. Well, if this times negative 4 equals 0, I know that 2x plus 5 equals 0, and 2x minus 5 equals 0. When I solve those equations, I get negative 5 halves and positive 5 halves. I want to look at those two numbers. Which one fits with this point? Well, I know that that value for time is positive, so that's this value. We don't want a negative value for time. An improper fraction doesn't make a lot of sense for seconds, so we're going to say 2.5. So this ordered pair is not just x0. Now we know exactly what it is. It is 2.50. We found the x-intercept. Now what does it represent? It represents the time when our pencil hit the ground. That's also the amount of time that our pencil was in the air. So we started with an initial height of 100, and it took 2.5 seconds for it to hit the ground. Those are our x and our y intercepts. That's the end of problem 1.